r/TrueOffMyChest fiancé mocked my waste of money until I revealed how much I actually make. I need to get this off my chest before I lose my mind. Seriously. Another impulse buy. Sarah's voice cut through our apartment like a knife as she spotted the small Amazon package on our kitchen counter. What pointless gadget did you waste money on this time? I hadn't even opened it yet. It was a $40 wireless charger, literally $40, but from her reaction, you'd think I'd bought a yacht. It's just a phone charger, Sarah. My old one broke. I kept my voice level, though my jaw was already clenching. We'd been having this same conversation for months now, and I was getting really fucking tired of it. She rolled her eyes dramatically and crossed her arms. Right, because the $15 one from Target wasn't good enough for you. God, do you ever think before you spend? Some of us actually care about our financial future. Some of us, like I was some kind of financial disaster she had to babysit. Here's the thing nobody knows, not even Sarah. After 2 years together, I make $240,000 a year as a senior software engineer at a major tech company. Sarah thinks I make around $85,000 because when we first started dating, I was deliberately vague about my salary. I'd seen too many relationships implode over money, either people using me for it or getting weird and insecure. So I let her assume I made something closer to what seemed normal for a programmer. Meanwhile, Sarah makes $52,000 as a marketing coordinator and has somehow appointed herself the financial advisor of our relationship. She's constantly lecturing me about responsible spending and building wealth while I sit there nodding like an idiot, watching her calculate how splitting a $60 dinner bill fits into what she thinks is our budget. The irony is killing me. While she's doing mental gymnastics over whether we can afford premium gas, I've got $180,000 sitting in my savings account and another $150,000 in investments. I could buy her car outright with what I spend on rent for my home office that she thinks is too expensive. You know what your problem is? Sarah continued, really warming up now. You have zero impulse control. Zero financial discipline. Thank God one of us is thinking long-term here. I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Maybe both. Last month, she gave me a 20-minute lecture about fiscal responsibility because I bought a $200 jacket without discussing it first. The month before that, she nearly had a heart attack when she saw me book a weekend trip to Portland, $400 total, calling it reckless spending and asking if I'd consider the impact on our savings goals. Our savings goals. Goals based on financial information that's completely fucking wrong. The worst part. I can see how proud she is of herself. She genuinely thinks she's being the mature, responsible partner keeping her financially reckless boyfriend in line. She's positioned herself as the voice of reason in our relationship, the practical one who has to rein in my supposedly impulsive nature. But watching her treat me like a child who can't be trusted with money, especially when I'm financially supporting way more than my fair share of our life together, is starting to eat away at something fundamental between us. I never intended for this lie to go on so long. But now we're engaged, talking about marriage and joint finances, and she's still treating every purchase I make like it's going to bankrupt us both. Something's got to give. And after what happened at dinner last night, I think it finally has. The dinner party was supposed to be fun. Sarah's work friends had invited us to this trendy bistro downtown, the kind of place with exposed brick walls and $18 cocktails that Sarah would normally complain about. But her colleague Mike was celebrating a promotion, and she'd been looking forward to it all week. I should have known something was off when she spent the entire Uber ride there giving me what she calls helpful reminders. Just, try to be mindful tonight, okay? She was using that tone again, like she was talking to a teenager heading out with dad's credit card. I know you've been doing better with the impulse spending, but Mike's group can be a little flashy. Don't feel like you need to keep up. I think I can handle ordering dinner without bankrupting us, Sarah. I'm just saying. Last time we went out with my work people, you ordered that expensive whiskey, and it was literally one drink. A $30 drink. That's groceries for 2 days. I stared out the window and tried to calculate how much I'd made in the time it took her to finish that sentence. Probably around $30, actually. The evening started fine. Mike's a decent guy, and his girlfriend Emma works in tech too, so we had stuff to talk about. Sarah was in her element, charming, funny, holding court with stories from her marketing campaigns. This was the Sarah I fell in love with, before every conversation between us became a financial audit. Then Emma complimented my watch. Oh wow, is that the new Apple Watch Ultra? I've been thinking about getting one for hiking. How do you like it? It was an innocent question. The watch cost $800, which I bought without thinking twice about it because, well, why would I? But I could feel Sarah's eyes laser focusing on my wrist like she was seeing it for the first time. It's great for fitness tracking, I said, hoping to keep it casual. Really accurate GPS. Those are pretty pricey though, right? Mike chimed in. Like $600 or $700. Sarah's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Her smile didn't waver, but I knew that look. I was about to pay for this. Oh, my fiancé here has very expensive taste, she said with a laugh that sounded like broken glass. He's always finding new ways to blow through money. I swear I need to hide his credit card sometimes. The table went quiet for just a beat too long. Emma looked confused. Mike cleared his throat and changed the subject to something about football, but the damage was done. I sat there feeling like I'd been slapped in front of a room full of strangers. Sarah had just publicly humiliated me, painted me as some kind of financial man-child she had to manage, and she was smiling like she'd made a cute joke about my quirky habit of collecting vintage records or something. But she wasn't done. When the check came and Mike suggested we split it evenly, Sarah jumped in immediately. Actually, could we do separate checks? Someone at this table, she glanced at me meaningfully, ordered the surf and turf and 3 cocktails. I don't think it's fair to make everyone else subsidize his lifestyle choices. Lifestyle choices. Like I was shooting heroin instead of ordering lobster. Emma looked mortified. Mike's girlfriend actually whispered, Jesus Christ, under her breath. And Sarah sat there looking pleased with herself, like she'd just delivered some brilliant lesson in accountability. I paid my check, $127 for dinner and drinks, in cash, leaving a 25% tip. Sarah stared at the bills in my hand like I just lit them on fire. The ride home was dead silent, but I could feel her building up to something. The Sarah lecture was coming, and this one was going to be nuclear. I made a decision somewhere between downtown and our apartment. Tonight, she was going to learn exactly who she'd been talking to. She started the moment we walked through our apartment door. What the actual fuck was that, Jake? Sarah's purse hit the counter like a gunshot. $127. For one meal. And paying in cash like some kind of drug dealer. I hung up my jacket slowly, buying myself a few seconds. My heart was hammering, but not from her anger. From what I was about to do. Do you have any idea how that looked in front of my colleagues? She was pacing now, her heels clicking against our hardwood floors like a metronome counting down to detonation. Emma probably thinks I'm engaged to some trust fund brat who's never heard of a budget. And Mike just got promoted and he was being responsible about splitting the check evenly. Sarah. No, I'm talking right now. She whipped around to face me. I am so tired of this shit. The watch, the cash, ordering the most expensive thing on the menu without even looking at prices. What's next? Are you going to lease a BMW because your Honda isn't flashy enough? I almost laughed at that. The Honda was a deliberate choice. I could afford a Tesla, but I'd wanted to keep up the appearance of being a regular guy with a regular salary. Same reason I shopped at Target instead of Nordstrom, same reason I pretended to care when she used coupons at the grocery store. Do you know what I made last year? She continued, her voice rising. $52,000. Before taxes. Do you know what that works out to per hour? Per minute. While you're throwing around hundreds like it's Monopoly money, I'm calculating whether I can afford name brand cereal. She was really hitting her stride now, and I realized this wasn't just about tonight. This was months of resentment pouring out. I love you, Jake, but I can't marry someone who's going to drag us into debt because he can't control himself. My parents lost their house because my dad had the same attitude you do, thinking money would just magically appear when the bills came due. That stopped me cold. She'd never mentioned her parents losing their house. Suddenly, her obsession with financial security made a lot more sense, and I felt like an asshole for not seeing it sooner. But it didn't change the fact that she'd been treating me like garbage based on completely wrong information. I've been trying to help you, she said, and now there were tears in her eyes. I've been trying to teach you how to be responsible, how to plan for the future. But you just keep spending and spending like there are no consequences. Sarah, stop. Just stop for a minute. No. You need to hear this. Emma makes probably twice what you do, and even she said that watch was expensive. Do you know how embarrassing it is to watch your fiancé act like money grows on trees while you're trying to save for a wedding? For a house. For a life together. The wedding she thought we couldn't afford. The house she'd been researching in realistic neighborhoods based on her assumption that our combined income was around $135,000. The life she'd been planning around numbers that were completely fucking wrong. I opened a separate savings account, she said quietly, wiping her eyes. For us. For our future. I've been putting away $300 a month because I knew you wouldn't. Someone has to be the adult here. $300 a month. I made that in about 6 hours. Sarah, sit down. I'm not done. Sit. Down. Something in my voice made her stop mid-sentence. She looked at me like she was seeing me clearly for the first time tonight. I walked to our home office and grabbed my laptop. It was time to show her exactly who she'd been lecturing about money for the past 18 months. I came back to find Sarah sitting on our couch, arms crossed, still crying. What are you doing with the laptop? Her voice was smaller now, confused. I sat down next to her and opened my banking app. My hands were actually shaking as I typed in my password. 2 years of lies were about to come crashing down, and I wasn't sure either of us was ready for what came next. Before I show you this, I said, I need you to understand that I never meant for it to go this far. Jake, what the hell are you talking about? I turned the laptop screen toward her. My checking account balance stared back at us, $23,847.52. But that wasn't what I was showing her. Look at the deposits, I said quietly. Sarah leaned forward, squinting at the screen. I watched her eyes track the numbers. Direct deposit, twice monthly. $7,692.31 each time. She was quiet for a long moment, and I could practically see the math happening in her head. That's. She started, then stopped. That can't be right. I clicked over to my savings account. $184,329.18. Then my investment portfolio. $167,445.83. Sarah's face went completely white. Jake. Her voice was barely a whisper. Jake, what the fuck is this? I make $240,000 a year, I said. Before taxes, I bring home about $185,000. I've been making this salary for 2 years, since about 6 months after we started dating. She stared at the screen like it was written in a foreign language. That's not possible. You said you made. I never actually told you a number, I said carefully. You assumed, and I didn't correct you. You lied to me. She stood up so fast the laptop almost slid off my knees. For 2 years, you've been lying to me. Sarah, let me explain. Explain. Her voice cracked. You've been sitting there letting me lecture you about money while you make almost 5 times what I do. You've been watching me stress about $40 purchases while you have $200,000 in savings. I closed the laptop and set it aside. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Then how was it supposed to happen, Jake? When exactly were you planning to mention that you're fucking rich? I'm not rich, Sarah. I'm comfortable, but... Don't. She held up her hand. Do not sit there and downplay this. You make more in 3 months than I make in a year. You make more in a day than I spend on groceries in a month. She started pacing again, but this was different from before. This wasn't anger, this was panic. Oh my God, she said suddenly. Oh my god. The dinner tonight. Emma asking about your watch. She knows, doesn't she? She works in tech, she knows what people like you make. I hadn't thought about that, but Sarah was probably right. They all knew, she continued, her voice getting higher. Mike, Emma, probably everyone at that table knew you could afford that meal, and I sat there like an idiot trying to split checks and lecture you about responsibility. They must think I'm completely insane. Sarah. The coupons. She stopped pacing and looked at me with something close to horror. All those times I made you wait while I sorted through coupons at Target. All those times I suggested we eat at home instead of going out. That time I made you drive across town to save $12 on an oil change. I didn't mind. You didn't mind because it was funny to you. She was crying again, but now it was angry tears. Poor little Sarah, so worried about money while her rich boyfriend plays along with her cute budget games. That's not how I saw it. Then how did you see it, Jake? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been treating our entire relationship like some kind of social experiment. It wasn't a social experiment, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I could hear how weak they sounded. I was trying to protect. Protect what? Sarah's voice was raw now. Protect your money. Protect yourself from having a gold digger girlfriend. I've seen what money does to people, Sarah. I've watched friends get used, watched relationships fall apart the moment someone finds out about a big salary or inheritance. I wanted you to love me for me, not for what I could provide. So instead you decided to lie to me for 2 years and let me humiliate myself. She grabbed her phone from the counter and started scrolling frantically. Jesus Christ, Jake, I posted about teaching my boyfriend to budget on my Instagram story last month. I tagged you in a post about couples who save money by cooking at home instead of eating out. My stomach dropped. I'd seen that post. I'd even liked it because I thought it was sweet that she wanted to share our life together, even if the context was completely wrong. And that time your coworker Marcus invited us to that charity gala, she continued, scrolling through her photos. I told you we couldn't afford the $200 tickets, so we didn't go. Marcus's girlfriend asked me later if you were okay, if you were going through some kind of financial trouble because everyone expected you to be there. I remembered that conversation. Sarah had been so proud of herself for keeping us on track financially, while I'd actually wanted to go. The charity was one I donated to regularly, $5,000 a year, which Sarah obviously didn't know about. How many people know, Jake? Her voice was getting quieter, which somehow felt more dangerous than when she was yelling. How many of your friends and coworkers have been watching me play house with budgets and coupons while knowing the truth? It's not like that. My coworkers tonight. They're going to go home and Google software engineer salaries, aren't they? They're going to figure out that I had no idea what my own fiancé makes for a living. She sat down heavily on our kitchen stool. Emma's going to tell everyone at her company that she met this couple where the girlfriend was so clueless about her boyfriend's income that she tried to police his spending at dinner. I hadn't considered the ripple effects, how this would reflect on her professionally and socially. Sarah worked hard to maintain an image of being put together and competent. Having her friends discover she'd been completely wrong about something so fundamental would be devastating. I trusted you, she said, and the defeat in her voice was worse than all the anger. I told you about my parents losing their house. I explained why financial security mattered to me. And you just sat there. Nodding. Letting me worry about money that we didn't need to worry about. Your concerns were valid. Based on lies, Jake. They were based on lies. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Do you know what I did last week? I researched wedding venues we could afford on our combined income. I made spreadsheets. I called my mom and told her we'd need to keep the guest list small because money was tight. Oh, fuck. Sarah's mom, who already thought I wasn't good enough for her daughter. I turned down my college roommate's destination bachelorette party because I said we were saving for our future. I've been buying generic groceries and shopping clearance racks and feeling guilty every time I wanted something nice because I thought we were just scraping by. She stood up and walked to our bedroom. For a moment, I thought she was leaving, but she came back with a small notebook. This is our budget, she said, flipping it open. I've been tracking every expense, every purchase, trying to optimize our spending. Look. Page after page of meticulous calculations, all based on completely wrong numbers. She'd been managing our entire life around an income that didn't exist. Sarah, I'm sorry. Are you? She closed the notebook and looked at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Something that looked like she was seeing a stranger. Because I'm starting to wonder what else you've been lying about. The question hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. What else have you been lying about? Sarah, this is the only thing. I swear to you, this is the only thing I've kept from you. She laughed, but it was hollow. How the hell am I supposed to believe that? You've been lying to my face every single day for 2 years. Every time I worried about money out loud, every time I suggested we couldn't afford something, every time I praised you for being financially responsible by choosing the cheaper option, you just went along with it. I watched her pace to the window, then back to the kitchen, like she couldn't figure out where to put herself in this conversation. The worst part is that I defended you, she said suddenly. My sister kept saying you seemed unmotivated because you drove an old Honda and lived in that tiny apartment when we started dating. My mom made comments about how I was settling for someone who wasn't ambitious enough. And I stood up for you every single time. My chest tightened. Sarah. I told them that not everyone needs to make 6 figures to be a good partner. I said money wasn't everything, that you were kind and smart and that I'd rather be with someone genuine than someone flashy. She turned to face me, and the pain in her expression was brutal. Turns out you were exactly the kind of person they thought you were, you just did it better. That's not fair. I'm not flashy, I don't throw money around. You spent $800 on a watch without blinking. You paid for dinner tonight in cash like it was nothing. You've been living below your means so dramatically that it's basically performance art. She had a point, but it felt like she was twisting everything. I was trying to be normal. I was trying to not let money complicate things between us. Normal. Her voice pitched higher. Jake, what's normal is being honest with your partner about fundamental things like your income. What's normal is not letting your fiancé stress about wedding budgets when you could afford to pay for the whole thing out of pocket. The wedding. Jesus Christ, the wedding. How much have you been pretending we can't afford? I asked quietly. Sarah's face crumpled a little. Everything. The venue I actually wanted was $3,000 more than what I told you we should spend. I wanted to invite my extended family, but I cut the guest list in half. I've been looking at second-hand wedding dresses because I thought spending more than $800 would be irresponsible. Each word felt like a punch. While Sarah had been sacrificing things that mattered to her, I'd been sitting on enough money to give her whatever wedding she wanted without making a dent in my savings. And the house, she continued. We've been looking at starter homes in neighborhoods I don't even like because I thought that's what we could afford. That place in Riverside that you said was cozy. I knew you hated it. I could tell. But I thought we had to compromise because of money that apparently isn't even an issue. I remembered that house. It was small, outdated, in a neighborhood with bad schools. Sarah had talked about it like it was a stepping stone, somewhere we'd live for a few years until we could afford something better. I'd gone along with it because I thought that's what couples did, start small and work their way up together. We could have been looking at completely different places, she said. We could have been planning a completely different life. We still can. Can we? Sarah's voice was sharp again. Because I don't even know who you are anymore. The person I fell in love with was someone who understood what it meant to work for things, to save up for something special, to make careful choices about money. But that person was fake, wasn't he? Sarah, I'm the same person. No, you're not. The person I knew would never let his partner stress about groceries while sitting on $200,000 in savings. The person I knew wouldn't watch me clip coupons for restaurants we could easily afford. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. The person I knew wouldn't humiliate me in front of my colleagues by letting me police his spending when he makes more money than all of us combined. Sarah grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Where are you going? I stood up, panic flooding my system. I need air. I need to think. I can't be here right now. She paused with her hand on the doorknob. I can't even look at you right now. Sarah, please. Let's talk about this. We can figure it out. She turned back to me, and the look on her face made my blood run cold. Figure what out, exactly? How to undo 2 years of lies. How to explain to my family that the financial struggles I've been complaining about don't exist. How to face my coworkers after tonight. We'll get through this. Will we? She let out a bitter laugh. Because I'm starting to wonder what kind of person does what you did. What kind of person watches someone they claim to love worry and stress and sacrifice for months, and just lets it happen. The door slammed behind her, and I was left standing in our apartment surrounded by the evidence of our completely fake financial life. The budget notebook on the counter. The grocery receipts she'd been saving to track our spending. The wedding planning binder with venues we couldn't afford. I sank onto the couch and tried to process what had just happened. In the span of an hour, I'd gone from being frustrated about Sarah's money lectures to potentially losing her entirely. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, my coworker from the charity gala incident. Asterisk, heard through the grapevine there was drama at Emma's dinner tonight. Everything okay? Asterisk. Fuck. It was starting already. Sarah was right, people were going to talk. Emma would tell her boyfriend, who probably knew someone who knew Marcus, and the whole story would spread through the tech community like wildfire. The guy who made $240,000 but let his girlfriend think he was broke. I tried calling Sarah, but it went straight to voicemail. Then I tried texting. Asterisk, please come home. I know I fucked up but we can work through this. Asterisk. No response. I found myself walking through our apartment, seeing it through new eyes. The generic furniture Sarah had chosen because it was practical and affordable. The small TV she'd insisted was perfectly adequate when I'd wanted to upgrade. The thermostat she kept at 68 degrees in winter because she was always worried about the heating bill. Our entire living space was a monument to financial anxiety that didn't need to exist. My phone rang. For a second, I thought it was Sarah, but it was my sister Kelly calling from Portland. Hey, stranger. How's the engaged life treating you? Kelly, I fucked up. I fucked up really, really badly. Whoa, what happened? Did you forget to put the toilet seat down or something actually serious? I found myself telling her everything. The salary lie, Sarah's lectures, the dinner party disaster, the revelation, Sarah walking out. Kelly listened without interrupting, which meant it was actually bad. Jesus, Jake, she said when I finished. What were you thinking? I was thinking I wanted a relationship that wasn't about money. But it became entirely about money anyway, just based on wrong information. That's actually worse. Thanks, Kelly. Really helpful. I'm serious. You created the exact situation you were trying to avoid, except now Sarah can't trust you about anything. She paused. And honestly, I kind of don't blame her. This is pretty messed up, even for you. Even for me. Jake, you've always been weird about money. Remember when you wouldn't tell me what you paid for your car? Or when you got mad at Christmas because you thought Mom only invited you to dinner because she knew you'd bring expensive wine? I did remember that. I'd been convinced everyone was treating me differently once my salary jumped. Maybe the problem isn't other people, Kelly continued. Maybe it's you. Kelly's words hit like a slap. What do you mean, maybe it's me? I mean you've been so paranoid about people using you for money that you created a relationship built on financial deception. That's not protecting yourself, Jake, that's sabotage. I started to argue, but she cut me off. And Sarah's right about one thing. What kind of person watches their partner stress about money they don't need to stress about? You could have stopped this at any point. After we hung up, I sat in the dark trying to figure out when exactly I'd crossed the line from being cautious to being cruel. Because that's what it was, wasn't it? Watching Sarah calculate grocery budgets while I had more money than she'd see in 5 years, that was cruel. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Emma, which surprised the hell out of me. Asterisk, hey, I got your number from Mike. Is Sarah okay? She seemed really upset when she left. Asterisk. Asterisk, she's processing some things. Thanks for checking. Asterisk. Asterisk, Jake, can I ask you something? And please don't take this the wrong way. Asterisk. My stomach dropped. Here it comes. Asterisk, does Sarah know what you actually do for work? Like, specifically. Asterisk. Emma definitely knew. She probably figured it out the moment Sarah started lecturing me about money at a restaurant Emma knew I could easily afford. Asterisk, it's complicated. Asterisk. Asterisk, oh no. Oh, Jake. She doesn't know, does she? Asterisk. Asterisk, she knows now. Asterisk. Asterisk, shit. I'm so sorry. When she was talking about budgets and being responsible, I thought she was just being modest or something. I had no idea she was serious. Asterisk. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before her next message came through. Asterisk, for what it's worth, Mike and I weren't judging. But some of the other people at dinner, they might talk. Sarah's really sweet, and tonight made her look kind of, asterisk. Asterisk, crazy. Asterisk. Asterisk, I was going to say uninformed. But Jake, you have to know how this looks from the outside. Asterisk. I did know. It looked like I'd been playing some sick game with my fiancé's emotions. Sarah's key turned in the lock around midnight. She'd been gone for 3 hours, and I'd been sitting on the couch the entire time, spiraling through every conversation we'd ever had about money. You're still up, she said quietly, not making eye contact. I was waiting for you. We need to talk about this. She sat down on the opposite end of the couch, as far from me as possible. I drove around for 2 hours just thinking. And I keep coming back to the same question. What question? What else? Sarah's voice was steady, but I could see her hands shaking. If you could lie about something this fundamental for 2 years, what else have you been lying about? Sarah, I swear to you. Do you actually want to marry me? The question came out in a rush. Because I've been planning a life with someone who doesn't exist. The Jake I fell in love with was building something with me, struggling with me, making sacrifices with me. But you were just, what? Slumming it? Playing house? That's not. I keep thinking about all the times you agreed with me about money being tight. All the times you nodded when I talked about saving for our future. Were you laughing at me inside? I was never laughing at you. Then what were you doing? Her voice cracked. Because normal people don't do this, Jake. Normal people don't watch their partner eat ramen for lunch to save money while they're sitting on a fortune. The ramen comment hit hard because it was true. Sarah had been bringing cheap lunches to work while I ate out with coworkers at places that cost more than her entire weekly food budget. I called my sister, she said suddenly. Told her everything. You know what she said? I waited. She said it sounds like you were running some kind of psychological experiment. Like you wanted to see how far you could push me before I broke. That's not what this was. Then explain it to me. Sarah turned to face me fully for the first time since coming home. Explain to me how someone who claims to love me could watch me stress about a $40 phone charger while knowing it represents about 20 minutes of their actual income. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Because when she put it like that, I couldn't explain it in a way that didn't make me sound like a sociopath. I thought so, Sarah said quietly. Sarah stood up and walked to our bedroom again, but this time she came back with a suitcase. What are you doing? The words came out strangled. I'm going to stay at my sister's for a few days. She set the suitcase on the coffee table between us like a barrier. I can't be here right now. I can't think clearly with you sitting there looking at me like I'm the one who did something wrong. Sarah, please don't leave. We can work through this. Can we? She started folding clothes with sharp, angry movements. Because I've been thinking about everything, Jake. Everything. And it's not just the money. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Remember when I got passed over for that promotion 6 months ago? I was so upset because I thought we needed the extra income for the wedding. I cried for 3 days about letting you down, letting us down. She threw a sweater into the suitcase harder than necessary. You comforted me. You told me we'd figure it out together, that we'd make it work on what we had. I did remember. Sarah had been devastated, and I'd held her while she sobbed about our financial future. You let me feel like a failure, she continued, her voice getting louder. You let me think that my career struggles were affecting our life together when the truth is, my entire salary wouldn't even make a dent in your monthly income. Your career matters to me regardless of money. Does it? Because you've been living a lie so elaborate that I'm starting to question everything you've ever said to me. She grabbed her toiletries from the bathroom and shoved them into a side pocket. What about when I said we should postpone the wedding to save more money? You agreed. You said it was the responsible thing to do. Fuck. We'd pushed our wedding back 6 months because Sarah wanted to build up our savings account. I'd gone along with it because I thought it showed I was committed to her financial goals. Or when I suggested we move to a smaller place to save on rent, she continued. You were so supportive of downsizing for our future. Meanwhile, you could afford to buy a house outright. Each example felt like another nail in the coffin of our relationship. I thought I was being a good partner by supporting her financial anxieties. Instead, I'd been feeding them with lies. The gym membership, Sarah said suddenly, stopping mid-pack. I canceled my gym membership 8 months ago because I said we couldn't afford both yours and mine. You said you understood, that we could work out together at home. I watched the color drain from her face as she remembered. I've been doing YouTube fitness videos in our living room while you kept your membership at that expensive place downtown. The one that costs more per month than I was spending on groceries. Sarah. How many things have I given up, Jake? How many little sacrifices have I made for a budget that was completely fake? She zipped the suitcase closed with violent efficiency. I need to make a list. I need to figure out how much of my life for the past 2 years has been based on your lies. My phone started buzzing. Text messages coming in rapid succession. That's probably Mike, Sarah said bitterly. Emma texted him after she texted you. Words getting around about the crazy girlfriend who doesn't know her fiancé is loaded. I glanced at the messages. She was right, it was Mike, then Marcus, then 2 other coworkers. The tech world was smaller than people thought, and gossip traveled fast. This is going to follow me everywhere, Sarah said, reading my expression. Every time I meet someone new in your social circle, they're going to know me as the girl who was too stupid to figure out what her own boyfriend made for a living. Nobody thinks you're stupid. Don't they? She hefted the suitcase off the table. Because I'm starting to think maybe I am. Maybe I'm the kind of person who's so naive that I can live with someone for 2 years and not notice they're lying about something this basic. She headed for the door, then stopped and turned back one more time. The ring, she said quietly. What? My engagement ring. How much did it actually cost? I felt my face flush. Sarah, that doesn't matter. How? Much. 12,000. She stared at me for a long moment, then slowly pulled the ring off her finger and set it on our kitchen counter. I told everyone it was 3,000, she whispered. I bragged about how you'd saved up for months to afford it. The door closed behind her with a quiet click that somehow sounded more final than if she'd slammed it. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my laptop reading every text message, every email, every notification that kept lighting up my phone. Word was spreading faster than I'd expected, and each message made it clearer just how badly I'd fucked this up. Marcus, dude, heard about tonight. Emma filled in some blanks. Sarah didn't know about your salary. That's intense. My college buddy Trevor, Mike's girlfriend says your fiancé had no idea what you make. Bro, what were you thinking? Even my fucking barista from the coffee shop near work had somehow heard, hey, aren't you the guy Emma was talking about? The one with the secret salary. Wild story, man. By morning, I realized Sarah was right. This wasn't going to stay contained to one embarrassing dinner party. The story was too bizarre, too juicy. The tech guy who made $250,000 but convinced his girlfriend he was broke, it was the kind of tale that would get passed around at happy hours for months. But the worst message came from someone I didn't expect, Sarah's sister Jessica. I don't know what kind of sick game you were playing with my sister, but she's completely destroyed. She's been crying all night asking what's wrong with her that she couldn't see through your lies. Fix this, or stay away from her. The thought of Sarah blaming herself made me physically sick. I tried calling her, but her phone was off. I tried texting, nothing. I even called Jessica directly, but she hung up the moment she heard my voice. Around noon, my boss called. Jake, we need to talk. Can you come in today? My stomach dropped. Is this about? Just come in. We'll discuss it when you get here. The office felt different when I walked in. People were definitely looking at me, whispering. The story had reached my workplace, which meant it had probably reached Sarah's too. My boss, David, closed his office door behind me and gestured to a chair. So, he said, settling behind his desk. Want to tell me why I'm getting calls from other department heads asking if we have an employee who's been lying to his girlfriend about his income? David, it's personal. It became professional when it started affecting your work relationships. Emma Martinez called HR this morning. Apparently, there was some kind of incident at a dinner party that's now making rounds through 3 different companies. I felt my career slipping away along with my relationship. It's not what it sounds like. Jake, I don't care about your personal life, but when your personal drama starts reflecting on the company, it becomes my problem. David leaned forward. Emma said your girlfriend was publicly arguing about money at a business dinner, not knowing that you make senior engineer salary. That makes us look bad by association. Sarah's not my girlfriend anymore, I said quietly. She's my fiancé. Was my fiancé. Right. Well, whatever your relationship status, you need to handle this quietly. The last thing we need is gossip about our employees' personal lives affecting client relationships. When I got home that evening, I found something that made my blood run cold. The engagement ring was gone from the counter, but in its place was a manila envelope with my name written in Sarah's precise handwriting. Inside was a printed spreadsheet titled Financial Decisions Based on Deception, 2021 to 2023. Sarah had spent her day at her sister's house calculating exactly how much my lie had cost her. Not just money, everything. Gym membership canceled, $89 per month x 8 months equals $712. Declined bridesmaids trip to Napa, couldn't afford $450. Bought generic groceries instead of preferred brands, $40/month x 24 months equals $960. Chose smaller apartment to save money, $300 per month difference x 18 months equals $400. Wedding venue downgrade, $3,200 difference. Guest list reduced for budget, 47 people uninvited. Delayed wedding for savings, 6 months. The list went on for 2 pages. At the bottom, she'd written a note. Jake, this isn't about the money. It's about the choices I made because I trusted your lies. I've been living a smaller life because I thought we had to. I gave up things that mattered to me because I thought we couldn't afford them. I stressed about every purchase, every plan, every dream because I thought we were struggling, but we weren't struggling. I was struggling. Alone. While you watched, I need time to figure out if this is something I can forgive. Please don't contact me while I'm deciding, the ring is at my sister's. I don't know if I'm giving it back or just keeping it somewhere safe, Sarah. I read the note 3 times, each pass making me feel sicker. She'd quantified the damage, turned my deception into hard numbers that couldn't be argued with or explained away. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jessica. Sarah wants you to know she called out sick from work today because she can't face her coworkers yet. She's humiliated and heartbroken. I hope whatever you were trying to prove was worth it. I stared at the spreadsheet, at the careful calculations of a life made smaller by lies, and realized I might have lost the only person who'd ever loved me for who I thought I was. The irony was suffocating. I'd lied to protect our relationship from money, and instead, I'd let money destroy it anyway. 3 days passed without a word from Sarah, but the rest of the world wouldn't shut up about us. The story had taken on a life of its own, mutating as it spread through social media and professional networks. I'd become a cautionary tale, a Reddit thread waiting to happen, the tech bro who gaslit his girlfriend about money for 2 years. My LinkedIn was flooded with connection requests from people who just wanted to gawk. Someone had posted about it in a Facebook group for marketing professionals, Sarah's industry, with enough details that anyone who knew her could figure out she was the poor girlfriend in the story. But the worst part was watching it reach our families. My mom called Tuesday morning, her voice tight with confusion and disappointment. Jacob, I just got off the phone with Sarah's mother. She says you've been lying about your income. That Sarah didn't know what you actually make. Mom, it's complicated. Complicated? Your father and I raised you better than this. Linda Morrison is asking me how my son could humiliate her daughter in front of her colleagues, and I don't know what to tell her because I don't understand it myself. Sarah's mom. Fuck. Linda had never liked me, always thought Sarah was settling. This would confirm every suspicion she'd ever had about my character. She says Sarah's been planning a life around numbers you made up, Mom continued. That she's been sacrificing things because she thought you two were struggling financially. Jacob, what were you thinking? I wasn't thinking. That was becoming crystal clear. Does Sarah know about the trust fund your grandmother left you? Mom asked suddenly. My blood turned to ice. What? The $50,000 from Grandma Rose. I know you never touched it, but combined with your salary. Jacob, exactly how much money are we talking about here? I'd completely forgotten about the trust fund. It had been sitting in a separate account for years, gaining interest. Sarah didn't even know it existed. Jesus Christ, I whispered, doing quick math in my head. Between my savings, investments, and the trust fund I'd forgotten about, I was looking at nearly $400,000 in assets. Jacob? How much? A lot, Mom. A lot more than Sarah knows about. The silence stretched until I thought she might have hung up. You need to fix this, she finally said. However you do it, you fix this. That girl loves you, and you're destroying her. Wednesday brought a new complication. My landlord called. Jake, I got a weird situation here. Your girlfriend, fiancé, whatever, she called asking about lease terms. Something about whether you could afford this place on your own. My stomach dropped. What did you tell her? Well, that's the thing. She seemed to think you were stretching to make rent here. But you've been paying 6 months in advance since you moved in. I told her that, figured she knew. Sarah had been checking up on our living situation, probably trying to figure out what other financial lies I'd told. Now she knew I'd been prepaying rent while letting her stress about our monthly housing costs. She got real quiet when I mentioned the advance payments, my landlord continued. Then she asked if you put down extra for a security deposit. I told her you paid first and last month plus a full deposit up front, no financing needed. Another lie exposed. Sarah had been setting aside money for months thinking we'd need to save for our security deposit when we moved in together. She okay? She sounded pretty upset. We're going through some stuff, I said weakly. Thursday morning, Emma texted me again. Asterisk, Jake, I think you should know, Sarah's story is making rounds in professional circles. Someone posted about it on a marketing industry forum. They didn't use names, but there are enough details that people who know her might recognize the situation. Asterisk. My hands were shaking as I typed back, asterisk, what are they saying? Asterisk. Asterisk, nothing terrible about Sarah. Everyone feels bad for her. But you, the responses about you are pretty brutal. People are calling it financial abuse, emotional manipulation. Someone said it sounds like psychological warfare. Asterisk. Psychological warfare. The phrase hit me like a physical blow. There's something else, Emma continued. Asterisk, Mike heard from his girlfriend that Sarah's been getting weird looks at work. People whispering, pointing. Her boss apparently asked if she was having personal financial difficulties because someone had reached out expressing concern. Asterisk. I was destroying Sarah's professional reputation along with everything else. The careful, competent image she'd worked years to build was crumbling because of my lies. That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I drove to Sarah's office building and waited in the parking lot until she emerged at 5:30. She looked exhausted, fragile in a way I'd never seen before. When she spotted me leaning against my car, her face went through a series of expressions, surprise, anger, hurt, and finally, resignation. I told you not to contact me, she said, stopping about 10 feet away. Sarah, we need to talk. There's more. Her face went white. More lies. I nodded, hating myself. The trust fund. I forgot about the trust fund. Sarah's face went from white to gray. Trust fund. Her voice was completely flat. There's a trust fund. From my grandmother. $50,000. I never touched it, I completely forgot. You forgot about $50,000. Her voice cracked on the last word. Jesus Christ, Jake, what else? Do you own property somewhere? Have a secret investment portfolio I don't know about? I winced. Actually, there are more investments than what I showed you. Sarah turned around and walked back toward her office building. Sarah, wait. No. She whipped around, and I could see tears streaming down her face. No, I can't do this in a parking lot where my coworkers might see. I can't have another public breakdown over your lies. Then let's go somewhere private. Private? She laughed bitterly. Jake, do you know what happened to me today? My boss pulled me into her office because someone from another company called asking if I was having financial problems. They were concerned about me after hearing about some dinner party incident. My stomach lurched. Sarah. It gets better, she continued, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Jenny from accounting asked if I needed help making rent this month because she heard I'd been struggling with money. Jenny. who makes $35,000 a year and brings peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day because she's actually broke. I watched her reputation crumbling in real time, all because of my deception. And then, Sarah's voice got quieter, more dangerous. Linda from HR mentioned that her husband works in tech and wanted to know if you were having performance issues at work. Because apparently, word is getting around that you might be living beyond your means. People think I'm failing at my job. People think something is wrong with you, Jake. Normal people don't do what you did. She started walking toward her car. How much? What? The investments you didn't tell me about. How much? I followed her across the parking lot, my heart hammering. Sarah, let's sit down somewhere and talk through all of this. How much? A few people in the parking lot turned to look at us. Sarah noticed and lowered her voice, but the intensity didn't decrease. Total assets, she said quietly. Everything. Right now. I want a number. Close to 400,000, I whispered. Sarah stopped walking entirely. She stood next to her car for a full minute without speaking, just staring at the ground. $400,000, she finally said. You have $400,000, and you let me eat generic cereal to save money. Sarah. My car payment. She looked up at me with something approaching horror. I've been stressed about my car payment for months. $237 a month, and I've been losing sleep over it because I thought it was straining our budget. She unlocked her car and got in, rolling down the window to continue talking. You know what I make in a month after taxes, Jake? $2,800. You could pay my car off tomorrow with what you probably spend on lunches. I want to help. Help. Sarah's laugh was hollow. You want to help now? After watching me panic about money for 2 years? After letting me downgrade my entire life for a budget that was fake? She started the engine, then looked at me one more time. I talked to a lawyer today. My blood turned to ice. A lawyer? I needed to understand my options. Turns out, financial deception can complicate things when you're planning to marry someone. Especially when one person has been making major life decisions based on lies. Sarah, you don't need a lawyer. We can work this out. Can we? Because I'm starting to think you're not the person I thought I was marrying. I'm starting to think I don't know you at all. She put the car in reverse, then stopped. The wedding venue called today. They wanted to confirm our payment plan for the reception. I had to explain that there might not be a wedding. Her voice broke. Do you know how humiliating that was? Before I could answer, she was driving away, leaving me standing alone in the parking lot wondering if I just watched my future disappear. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom, *, Linda Morrison called again. Sarah's family wants to meet with you. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Don't make this worse than it already is. *. I was about to face Sarah's parents, who now knew I'd been lying to their daughter for 2 years while watching her struggle with fake financial problems. This was about to get so much worse. The meeting with Sarah's parents was scheduled for Friday evening, but Thursday night brought a complication I hadn't anticipated. I was sitting in my apartment, staring at my laptop screen and trying to draft some kind of apology email to Sarah, when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Is this Jake Morrison? Speaking. This is Detective Rivera with the Portland Police Bureau. I'm calling about a harassment complaint that was filed today. My stomach dropped. I'm sorry, what? A complaint was filed alleging unwanted contact, following, and causing emotional distress. The complainant is Sarah Chin. Are you familiar with this individual? She's my fiancé, ex-fiancé. But I haven't been harassing her. Sir, approaching someone at their workplace after being asked not to make contact could constitute harassment under Oregon law. I'm calling to advise you that any further attempts to contact Ms. Chin directly could result in a restraining order. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Detective, there's been a misunderstanding. Mr. Morrison, I've reviewed the complaint. Ms. Chin states that you've been deceptive about your financial status for an extended period, causing her significant emotional and professional harm, and that despite being asked for space, you confronted her at her workplace yesterday. Professional harm. The words echoed what Emma had texted me about Sarah's reputation being damaged. I wasn't confronting her, I was trying to explain. Sir, your motivations aren't relevant to the legal issue. The law is clear about unwanted contact. I'm advising you to communicate only through legal representatives going forward. After Detective Rivera hung up, I sat in my apartment feeling like my world was collapsing from every direction. Sarah had involved the police. She wasn't just angry or hurt, she was genuinely afraid of what I might do next. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica, Sarah's sister, *, meeting tomorrow is cancelled. Family lawyer says no direct contact until Sarah decides how she wants to proceed. This is really serious now, Jake. *. Family lawyer. They'd hired a lawyer. I tried to call my mom to explain about the meeting being cancelled, but she didn't answer. When I tried my dad, he picked up on the first ring. Jake, what the hell did you do now? What do you mean? Linda Morrison just called your mother, crying. She says Sarah's scared of you now, that you followed her to work after she asked you to leave her alone. Dad's voice was harder than I'd ever heard it. She says Sarah's talking to lawyers about protecting herself financially. Dad, I never threatened her. I would never. Financially, Jake. They're worried about you having access to joint accounts, or trying to manipulate her with money. Linda says Sarah's been checking all their shared accounts and credit cards because she doesn't know what else you might have lied about. Joint accounts. We had a shared credit card and a small joint savings account we'd opened for wedding expenses. Sarah was probably panicking about what I might do with access to her financial information. Your mother's devastated, Dad continued. She's been friends with Linda Morrison for 15 years, and now she can't even look her in the eye. You've embarrassed our entire family. The weight of how far this had spread was crushing. It wasn't just about me and Sarah anymore, our families, our professional networks, our entire social structure was imploding. There's something else, Dad said quietly. Linda mentioned that Sarah's been having panic attacks. She's seeing a therapist because she can't trust her own judgment anymore. She keeps saying she must be stupid not to have noticed what was happening. Panic attacks. The thought of Sarah having panic attacks because of me made me physically sick. Fix this, Jake. However you have to do it, fix this. That girl didn't deserve what you put her through. After he hung up, I realized I was completely alone. Sarah had lawyers and police protection. My family was ashamed of me. My coworkers were gossiping about me. And somewhere across town, the woman I loved was having panic attacks because I'd made her question everything she thought she knew about herself. Friday morning brought news that made me realize how completely I'd underestimated the situation. My boss David called at 7 a.m., which was never a good sign. Jake, we have a problem. A big one. I was barely awake, but his tone snapped me to attention immediately. What's wrong? HR got a call yesterday from someone claiming to represent Sarah Chin. They're asking about your employment status, salary history, and whether the company was aware of any deceptive practices regarding your compensation. My blood ran cold. They called my work. It gets worse. Apparently, there's some kind of social media thread about this situation that's gaining traction. Someone screenshot your LinkedIn profile and posted it alongside claims about financial deception. It's being shared in professional groups. I scrambled for my laptop, my hands shaking as I opened LinkedIn. My notifications were exploding, hundreds of them. Comments, shares, messages from strangers. David, I can explain. Jake, listen to me carefully. The company is conducting an internal review of this situation. We need to determine if there are any professional ethics violations or if this could impact our client relationships. Professional ethics violations. They were talking about firing me. There's a mandatory meeting with HR and legal at 10 a.m. Do not speak to anyone about this beforehand. Do not post anything on social media. Do not contact anyone involved in the original incident. After he hung up, I found the thread he'd mentioned. Someone had posted in a group called Tech Industry Professionals, with the title, When Financial Deception Goes Too Far, a Cautionary Tale. They'd included screenshots of my LinkedIn, photos from Sarah's Instagram showing our budget-conscious lifestyle, and a detailed breakdown of what they claimed happened at the dinner party. The comments were brutal. Asterisk, this is basically financial abuse. He let her make life decisions based on lies. Asterisk. Asterisk, anyone who works with this guy should be concerned about his integrity. Asterisk. Asterisk, how do you trust someone in a professional setting after something like this? Asterisk. Asterisk, someone should report this to his employer. This is sociopathic behavior. Asterisk. The post had been shared over 200 times. My professional reputation was being destroyed in real time by strangers on the internet. But then I saw something that made my stomach lurch, recent photos of Sarah. Someone had found her social media and posted screenshots of her at what looked like a coffee shop, with the caption, "This is the girlfriend. Look how stressed she looks now." The photos were from yesterday. Sarah looked exhausted, hollow-eyed, like she hadn't slept in days. Someone had been following her movements, documenting her emotional state for internet entertainment. My phone started ringing immediately, reporters, bloggers, even a producer from some daytime TV show asking if I wanted to tell my side of the story. The situation had gone viral, and everyone wanted a piece of it. Then came the text that made everything infinitely worse. From an unknown number, asterisk, this is Sarah's attorney. Any further attempts to contact my client, her family, her workplace, or anyone in her professional network will result in immediate legal action. This includes social media monitoring, third-party contact, or showing up at locations where she might be present. Consider this your formal legal notice. Asterisk. Sarah had hired her own attorney. Not a family lawyer, her own attorney who was now threatening me with legal action. A second text followed immediately, asterisk, my client is also considering filing a civil suit for intentional infliction of emotional distress and fraudulent misrepresentation. I advise you to retain counsel immediately. Asterisk. Civil suit. Sarah was talking about suing me. My phone rang again, this time it was a number I recognized. Marcus from work. Dude, you need to see what just got posted in the company's Slack channel. What are you talking about? Someone forwarded the LinkedIn thread to our team channel. David's asking everyone to report to HR if they have any information about your conduct with external parties. This is bad, Jake. Like, career-ending bad. I hung up and stared at my laptop screen, watching my entire life disintegrate in real time. The woman I loved was considering suing me, my job was in jeopardy, and thousands of strangers on the internet were dissecting my character. But the worst part was knowing that somewhere out there, Sarah was suffering through all of this too, except she was the victim, and I was the reason her life had become a public spectacle. The HR meeting was in 2 hours, and I had no idea how to explain to my employer that my personal lives had somehow become a professional crisis. The HR meeting was a disaster, but it gave me the clarity I'd been missing. David sat across from me with the head of HR and a company lawyer, their faces grim as they outlined the situation. The social media storm had reached clients. My professional reputation was radioactive. They were placing me on administrative leave pending a full investigation. This reflects poorly on the company's judgment in hiring, the lawyer said bluntly. We need to distance ourselves from this situation immediately. I nodded numbly, barely listening. All I could think about was that text from Sarah's attorney, the threat of a civil suit, the photos of her looking broken and exhausted. As they talked about professional ethics and company image, something crystallized in my mind. I'd been approaching this all wrong, trying to salvage my reputation, trying to explain myself, trying to minimize the damage to my life. But this was never about me. Walking out of that meeting, I made a decision that felt like the first honest thing I'd done in 2 years. I drove straight to the bank and liquidated everything, savings, investments, even the trust fund I'd forgotten about. $387,000 in total assets, converted to a cashier's check made out to Sarah Chin. Then I drafted the most important email of my life. Sarah. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I need you to see this before your attorney does. Asterisk attached is a cashier's check for $387,000, every asset I have. It's yours. No strings, no conditions, no expectation of forgiveness, asterisk. Asterisk I also wrote a detailed confession about everything I did, which I'm posting publicly to take responsibility and clear your name. People need to know this was entirely my fault, not some mutual misunderstanding, asterisk. Asterisk you were never naive or stupid. You trusted someone who didn't deserve it. You made responsible, careful decisions based on the information you had. Every sacrifice you made, every compromise, every moment of financial stress, that was because of my lies, not because of any failing on your part, asterisk. Asterisk I'm leaving Portland. I already resigned from my job, broke my lease, and I'm moving back to my parents' place in Ohio until I figure out what comes next. You'll never have to see me or hear from me again, asterisk. Asterisk the ring is yours to keep or sell, whatever gives you peace. The wedding deposits are yours to recover or transfer to a future celebration you actually want, asterisk. Asterisk I spent 2 years lying to you because I was afraid of money changing our relationship. Instead, I let lies destroy it completely. I took away your choices, your autonomy, your ability to make informed decisions about your own life. That was unforgivable, asterisk. Asterisk you deserved a partner who trusted you with the truth. You deserve to make real decisions about your real life. You deserve so much better than what I gave you, asterisk. Asterisk I hope someday you can rebuild the trust in yourself that I damaged. You have perfect judgment, you just had imperfect information, asterisk. I'm sorry for everything. Jake. Asterisk PDS, I'm publicly posting my confession on every platform where this story spread. By the time you read this, everyone will know the truth. You won't have to defend yourself anymore, asterisk. I posted my confession on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and every professional forum where the story had appeared. I detailed exactly what I'd done, why I'd done it, and why Sarah's reactions were completely justified. I took full responsibility and made it clear she was the victim of my deception, not a participant in some mutual drama. Then I blocked all social media, packed my car, and started driving east. The last text I received before turning off my phone was from Jessica, Sarah's sister. Asterisk, she's crying, but not the sad kind. She says this is the first time in months she feels like she can breathe. Thank you for finally telling the truth. Asterisk. 3 months later, I heard through Marcus that Sarah had used part of the money to take the marketing director position she turned down because she thought we couldn't afford the temporary pay cut during her transition. She'd moved to Seattle for the job and was apparently thriving. The ring? She donated the sale proceeds to a financial literacy nonprofit that helped women recognize financial abuse in relationships. She never sued me. She didn't need to, I'd already given her everything I could. I spent a year rebuilding my life in Ohio, working at a local nonprofit for a fraction of my old salary, learning what it actually meant to budget and sacrifice. For the first time since college, I understood what Sarah had been living with all along. When I finally felt ready to date again, I was completely honest about everything, my history, my finances, my failures. Most women walked away after hearing the story, which was fair. But eventually, I met someone who appreciated the hard work I'd done to become worthy of trust again. I never reached out to Sarah. That wasn't my choice to make anymore. But sometimes I looked at nonprofit websites in Seattle and smiled when I saw her name listed as a donor or volunteer, knowing she was living the life she deserved, one built on truth, on her own terms, with choices that were entirely her own. It was the least I could do after taking that away from her for 2 years. Some mistakes can't be fixed, only acknowledged and learned from. But sometimes, that's enough to let someone else heal and move forward. Even if you can't.